Hello everyone, welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 8th edition video. So today we're going to take a look at a few of the phases of the game. I wanted to wait until Games Workshop had put the information out for multiple phases, because it could be a little bit boring sitting just doing one tiny video at a time. So we've got the movement, psychic, shooting and charge phase all to talk about today. So without further ado, we will flip it over and look at the charge phase. So... no, not charge phase. Damn it. We wanted to do the movement phase first. Curse you, incompetence. Okay, getting right back into it. So obviously we've looked at the stat lines already and seen that we have variable movement characteristics. That's going to be the main thing to come from a movement phase that people who haven't played the earlier editions will not be used to. No more fixed movement, but we do have the variable movement and the fact that they are rolling the run move into the movement phase. You no longer do it in the shooting phase, which just speeds up the game. Most people generally did it in the movement phase anyway and just said, I'm going to run with this unit, do you mind if I do it now? And generally I never saw any problems with it. Obviously that's why you had the markers so that people didn't forget and try and run and shoot unless it was stinking Elder. Then we come along, and the other big thing that they wanted to bring in is the fact that you can now voluntarily leave combat. So I've had a couple of conversations about this already, and how is it a massive nerf to combat armies, things like that. And I think it just slightly shifts the dynamic. I don't think it breaks either playstyle. The unit that does it can't, looks like it's going to lose the ability to move again, can't shoot. Well, it says advance, so I'd assume you have to move away from the enemy. You can't shoot and you cannot charge that turn, but it does open you up for that, as they say here, those kind of firing lines where one unit's going to drop back so your other units can pile on into them. So if you're going to charge, you either want to make sure you can kill the unit you're charging, or have plans that it's going to, you don't want to be throwing tiny units in to try and lock stuff in combat anymore, because it's just not going to work, basically. So I think that's going to be a good change. Without seeing all of the units and all of the other rules together, it's really hard to judge these little tidbits, but for me, I think this is actually a positive change, and the sky is definitely not falling. So we come on to the psychic phase. For this one, it just talks about how it wasn't really feeling correct how they wanted it. It was normally a load of psychers would be powering one big psyker, but now that you just get to cast the spells that you have, or manifest the psychic powers that you have on your data slate. So it's going to be similar to Age of Sigmar in that regard, but you will get Magnus will still be really impressive. All of the big psychers will still be good. They'll get to do all of their things, and then you still get the resistance rolls if you're within 24 of them. So hopefully it's not going to be too overpowered. It does talk about one of the abilities, which is Smite. So it has a warp charge value of 5, and basically the way this is going to work is it's a 2d6 test bit with a target number, so you're looking for a 5 on 2d6, should be relatively simple, and go from there. Then, if manifested, the closest visible enemy unit within 18 of a psycho suffers d3 mortal wounds. If the result of a psychic test were more than a 10, the target suffers d6 mortal wounds instead. The reason this is really interesting is because it's the first we've seen of mortal wounds. Anyone who's played Age of Sigmar should be familiar with the concept, but basically it punches straight through armor, including invulnerable saves. So yeah, mortal wounds are going to be the new D-weapon craze, where everyone's going to be crying about them, and let's see what happens before we get too involved. But lots of psychers with mortal wounds could be pretty scary. The thing that you have to remember, especially with Smite, is the closest visible enemy unit. You have no choice of your target here other than what you can maneuver with you and your opponent's interplay. So as scary as this could be, I think that it's not all that just now, and that's why every cycle will have this one. but we'll see how wrong I am. Then we have the shooting phase. So this is everybody's favourite. Nobody plays 40k so that you can hit people with sticks. It's all about the bolt guns. And for this one, we have lots of little bits of information. Where are we? I've lost it on the page now. Trying to do too many pages at once. This is the disadvantage. Okay. So you can fire all of your weapons at the enemy. However, if you advance his turn or fell back from combat, that was it. Yeah. So we get into this. You can't shoot an enemy within 1 inch of you. The exception to this rule is pistols. These models with handheld firearms can shoot at the closest enemy target in the shooting phase, even if they themselves are locked in combat. So they talk about Cypher dual wielding his pistols, blapping away at the people, pushing those bullets into the evildoers. And it's going to be interesting. One of the conversations I had is how much of a massive buff this is potentially to jump pack, just a standard assault marine with pistol close combat weapon. You now getting to shoot at the guys in the shooting phase and hit them in the combat phase. Seems like a really interesting way to do it. Then we have heavy weapons. If you move with them, you don't snap fire. It's just -1 to hit. And that's for everything. So if your vehicles move now, they get a -1 to hit. None of the weird interactions. It's just all plain and simple. Smoke launchers have been clarified. They give a -1 to hit as well. And a good thing to remember is obviously these will balance out with the to hit modifiers and things. So nothing overly worrying. The last big change we're going to go over today is cover. Currently, cover saves give a blanket save to all units. I really find this quite interesting. I would have thought, the way I personally would have envisioned it, was that cover would roll into it to hit modifiers. But no, they've decided to roll it into the armor save modifiers. So you get a bonus to your armor save if you're in cover, which is affected by the armor save modifiers of the weapon shooting at you. So they reference, obviously, if you can punch through the armor, you can punch through the crate behind, all that kind of thing. So noise marines, weapons ignore cover. A Nova cannon, unsurprisingly, ignores cover. Then we move on to the charge phase, which I didn't actually read before I did this. I meant to and then forgot. So yeah, this is going to be new to me. The basic mechanics of this phase are very, very similar to how we work now. You select a unit within 12. So it's still a 2d6 random charge range. Enemy units still have a chance to hit the charge unit with overwatch fire, provided they are not already in combat. Still flat 6, all the same. You only need to come within 1 inch of an enemy, which in practice means that compared to current charge, you get an extra inch. Okay, so you only ever need an 11 to be able to charge. You never need to make any base contact. That'll clean up a lot of arguments and make the movement, you'll be allowed to be a little bit more messy, I'd assume. It's not going to be any of the top table arguments over exactly how far somebody moves. You also can't move within a 1 inch of an enemy if you didn't declare a charge. That should be pretty standard. That should be standard across all the games. You'll need to brave your overwatch fire of them, otherwise you can also engage. Overwatch can also be fired multiple times per phase, but as soon as the unit's engaged, it will no longer be able to fire back. So if multiple units charge you but fail, you just keep mowing them down, or if you kill a unit that's charging. So yeah, this rolls back into the movement phase. What I was saying about small combat units aren't going to really cut it anymore, unless they're like Terminators. They should be able to weather that fire. So the charge phase keeps most of its current mechanics with only minor amendments. Tomorrow we're going to go on to the fight phase. So I will again save up a couple of phases worth of news, unless the fight phase is the last one, in which case I'm going to have to do it on its own. But I'll get it done and then we can look at it there. But so far I feel like the game's shaping up to be pretty familiar to what we know now, but with some nice changes that don't really break anything. Obviously all of this was pulled from the Warhammer community. website, so make sure you check that out. Full props to Games Workshop for being upfront and open, putting all of the news and rumours out themselves now. I think it's really good news to see them doing it this way. The community interactions are a hell of a lot better than it ever has been before, and for one, I'm excited about the new way that we're handling things. So thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you on the next one.